Yeah. Do it.
Let's go. You're garbage.
That's what you get for scaring me.
It's absolutely fine.
Clean.
Because I wasn't recording anyway.
Oh, you fucking asshole.
Hey guys. Welcome to the Hype Attack Podcast,
Where we weigh in on the latest in nerd and pop culture hype.
We are bad.
We're the excited conversation we all have with our friends.
about the nerdy things we love.
And geek about. We are
The hashtag. I am the hype.
Your acapella is spot on.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Hype Attack, where we weigh in on the latest and greatest hype news.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
As always, I'm here with Rudy, Isaac, and Doug.
Hi.
What's up?
On today's episode, we will be diving into Alien Romulus because we all watched it together. This time, we went to the movies together, guys.
Like a group.
Yeah, we did it.
Another episode installment of Hype Attack Goes to the Movies.
Yes. Indeed.
Sound design there.
But as always, before we get into that goodness, is there anything anybody's hyped about? Any type of news coming out?
Oh, I got a long list.
Okay, I got a short one. But imagine we're all going to talk about it.
We know.
right?
Got him. What was Obama's move?
Just got to sit and take it. It's fun. You saw in the recent news that the Acolyte was canceled. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, no, it makes me mad.
Huh?
It's so stupid.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's so stupid.
I don't. We did an episode on it. I don't. Just to reiterate all that, I don't think that it was a garbage fire show the way that everybody else was making it out to be. I can see why they had its complaints. I even had like a little bit of complaints here and there, but not enough to shit on it. Unlike the latest season of House of Dragons, I won't be watching the next season. But this one, I was like, I kind of want to see where that's gonna go. And then it just got completely pulled. Did it say any reason why, other than just people were complaining about it? Just too much.
It was very expensive.
That's yeah. I don't. Do you think they needed to be that expensive? Was it 20? They say 20 an episode or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, they probably could have toned that down, maybe try to tell a smaller story or something like that. But no, it makes me mad. I already saw some of the other podcasts and bloggers and stuff that I follow were just like, excellent news! The Acolyte's been canceled. It's like, fuck off.
Yeah, they're just jumping on that hate train.
Yeah.
How'd you feel about it, Jay?
That
I
engagement.
will say, man, for me, like I'm 50-50 with it because it's one of those things like where I'm not gonna say like as a Star Wars fan, but I do dive into like the comments and when it was canceled, like I was reading different articles on Instagram about just people like the internet, we did it, we won, and it's one of those things like I don't necessarily think it's like that. I just feel that the story in the beginning didn't really grab a lot of people. Like it was basic, it was a mid story, but it had some interesting points. But what sucks is that it got good at the end.
Yeah.
And I know for a lot of people, that's not enough. Because if you're gonna kind of start off a story like that, yes, you had to follow the story, and then they had to build it up, and then you went back, and then they showed you everything, what led up to all this stuff. I just feel a lot of people really didn't care for the characters too much. They didn't really care for the story, and it's just one of those things like where I know a lot of people felt if you're going to use this particular character in here, they didn't really feel the story did it justice. So I don't know. I'm 50-50 with it because, like I said, I am kind of bummed that it's done because of what happened in the end, and then we got that little teaser with Yoda.
Mm-hmm.
So it would just be interesting to see where it was gonna go, but at the same time, like I felt like the fans like already kind of ruined it, so that's why I really didn't think it was gonna go anywhere.
So
after that,
do you good?
The fans hated it to begin with before it even came out, and then unfortunately the first few episodes didn't do enough, I think, to grab anybody. And then like I said on our show, the people's reaction to the story to me was just so weird, because it's like, oh, they didn't explain everything at first. It's like, yeah, that's how shows work. You go back and you learn. I mean, not all of them are like that, but it's a pretty common thing. But what I really worry about is they're going to willow this shit, and it's going to disappear. They're going to write it off. And there's not a Blu-ray or anything of it, so this could very well never be seen again. Decanonized and everything. And then that glorious lightsaber scene at the end and everything is just going to be gone. I mean, I'm sure people have it on YouTube and stuff like that. But because, I mean, like I said, Willow wasn't the greatest show on Earth, but I still think it absolutely sucks that it's just disappeared. It's gone.
Wow.
Everyone that worked on it, all the actors, like they can't even go like show their family like, hey, this is a show I was on. And I think that's ridiculous, and it's going to suck if that happens to this.
It started off with 4.8 million views, which after a few days turned into 11 million views, and then the last episode 8, had evidently the lowest ratings for a Star Wars series on Disney Plus. Do you think that's just the main thing? Do you think Disney at the time was like, yeah, it's all cool, people are talking about it stuff, but it's all about just views? Just strictly on the numbers?
So since they haven't released an official like reason for it being, like, everyone points to the viewership, and like Netflix does that all the time. Like if it doesn't hit ridiculous numbers for Netflix, like they're not interested in renewing it just because a couple people liked it. So most likely that's what they'll stick with, so they don't have to address controversy. It'll just be like low viewership. We tried, it didn't stick.
and that's the thing too. Like we've all been there because alphas for me, Stargate Universe. It's shows that I really liked that I wanted it to continue, but they just out of nowhere just said that's it. So it's one of the things that's the, I guess whatever you want to call it, happens to certain shows. But I feel like Star Wars is one of those things that's going to get criticized till the very end of time, because it's even with Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan kind of started off slow, and it was a lot of people that were like, "Oh my God!" And like, he's not even doing anything. Once again, I'm like, just let the story develop, and you'll see, what happens. But I heard a lot of complaints about Obi-Wan too. It's people.
There's always going to be the naysayers, for sure.
There's some people that like it. There's some people that's not, and then you're going to get the people that are going to dive into the timeline and things and say like, oh my God, Obi-Wan could have stopped Vader, but he didn't, so it's Obi-Wan's fault that this whole thing. I'm like, is it really like that serious for you to to dive into this thing and say Obi-Wan could have really stopped it? Could he really have? Even if he would have took out Vader, you still have the Emperor out there,
right, yeah,
because he would have replaced Vader with somebody else. It's just that type of fan logic when they try to make a point off of something that's they're just adding to the story. The same thing with this Acolyte. It's just an addition to the story. Just a little. We're gonna insert this here to kind of explain certain things. And even with the Anakin, he's the one. And then a lot of people are saying, well, if these people were created, what makes him so special? It had to come from somewhere. Yeah,
and now we don't give an opportunity for them to explain any of that.
So now you don't get this full ad.
Yeah.
And like Doug said, it could get removed. And honestly, if it is, canceled, just remove it. Because it doesn't matter at this point.
Well, I mean, there is potential. One, I think this cancellation kind of stings a little bit because that first season was certainly just like this setup. and then it was going to go on to being the actual acolyte working with this Sith guy or whoever. You know, it's like, so it was going to go in a whole new direction. Yeah, with the same characters that maybe people didn't care about as much, but like my hope would be, okay, they're not going to call it the acolyte, but they might continue at least some of that story in a new series, because this is the first live action in that time era, the High Republic. And I know that's like Disney's big thing is they want to continue to explore that, which maybe, I mean, who knows? Maybe they won't even do that now. I really fear that Star Wars is just going to get whittled down into the same movie over and over and over.
That's exactly it. That's exactly what I feel like this means with them canceling this thing. It's like, again, I don't think it was a huge shit show. The things that people are pointing out, they're making it out to be this huge thing. I can't believe they did this or didn't do that, X, Y, Z, blah, blah, blah. But ultimately, what I think it means is that now Disney or whomever, the writers and stuff like, now they're going to be really scared to try like new things.
Yeah.
You know, now it has to be within these like very specific things. Okay, this group of people got mad about that. This group of people didn't like this, that, the other. Now we really have to try to like, you know, please the audience. And it's going to lose, I think, integrity, and we might not even get any kind of exploration in any other non-Skywalker thing. You know what I mean?
But that is exactly where we are right now with cinema and shows. You know, it's hard for people unless you're like a big director, you know, somebody who has a name. The studios will let you go.
Sure,
you know,
yeah.
do your own thing.
Borderlands, Trap.
If you created, you know, some other franchises that were, you know, big, but that's why we're getting like a lot of reboots and you know,
for sure, yeah.
And all these things because
And we've talked about that.
Yeah.
because people can't, you know, seem to like some new idea within, like, I guess, a thing that they love. Like, you know, and I know we talked about this, but
For sure, yeah.
I feel there has to be a balance, and it's not a thing that studios should you know, should say, well, what are the audience or the fans, you know, saying, or what do they want? I feel the studios know to a degree, you know, what kind of what's out there that people like, you know, within whatever realm of, you know, story you're trying to tell. And I feel like if fans don't get that, they're going to start to complain because, you know, they're like, you had, you know, the Old Republic, you know, why didn't you just give us something like that? But you're giving us this story, and they're going to complain because that's not what we wanted.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like, it's one of those things you got to find the balance in that, I guess.
And lastly, then we'll move on to everyone else's list. Lastly, I think the ultimate thing too is just not necessarily what story to tell, but it's the execution of it, the delivery of it. Like, are you constructing a good story, whether it be in series form or in movie form? If you're doing that, I don't care what story you're deciding to tell. Just do it well.
Yeah.
That's that. But let's I don't
want to go on to Star Wars too much, but I do want to say, like, one thing with Star Wars is you are building this huge world. So I agree. Like, obviously, storytelling should come first. Like, tell a good story, but ultimately, like, Disney does kind of not have an obligation, but they do. There's this extra like side quest of also building into the world and building up, which is a lot. I mean, which not a lot of people can do well. We've seen it. Marvel has fumbled a lot. DC's fumbled a lot. But I mean, like, all of these shared universe shows have that kind of extra little thing to do to like kind of move the entire world story forward. And then to your point, like, you brought up like that these two were made by the Force, and so Anakin's no longer special. You know, a lot of people hated that, but I can see being in the story room or writing that script and thinking like, okay, you know, what if we introduced another one? You know, it's like to me as a viewer, as a fan, like, that could also be exciting to find out that Anakin wasn't the only one, and it could be exciting to find out how it happened, because they never explained how it happened with Anakin.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Very true.
you know, people shat on the writers for that, but it's like, really, the writers were probably very happy to be giving us something that maybe they thought some of us would be excited for, and maybe in a different world, we would have been excited for it. But we're in this world where we're just like so geared to just want to hate on anything.
So I will say this right quick to add to Doug's point. So I'm a big fan of Linkin Park, the band. So I liked, their first album, the Reanimation album, when that shit came out, phenomenal. I think it was their third album. I don't remember the name off the top of my head. Like, I'm bad with song names or album, but it was like Media. I don't know what it was. Like,
Meteora.
Yeah, Meteora. So they came out with this album. And I was,
Sorry.
like I said, big fan of the first album.
It's my butthole's closing up. Sorry.
Hybrid Theory, Reanimation. When they came out with that third album, they sounded so different. I was like, I wasn't 100% on board. I could listen to both of their first two albums without skipping anything. Second one, I was like, because it was a hit and miss. But I was just lucky enough that I was fortunate. I think I bought like a special edition like CD or I watched like some behind the scene footage of like them actually making the album and everything that they put into it. And I sat there, I'm like, you know what? Let me listen to this thing again. It was just that first initial listen. I'm like, man, they don't sound the same. I was like,
It's like every time someone like tries to push that envelope and do something creative, and people are like, "Well, that's not what came before." And you made that point too. It's like,
yeah.
a million times. It's just people's knee-jerk reaction is like, "Well, this is not what you've been."
And those are the people that are getting angry. They're non-creators. If you ever notice, like people who do create in any kind of medium, when an artist and again in any other kind of medium come out with something new, they're like, cool, like I see where they're going, whatever, and we'll judge it on not like how it compares to the other thing, but just how it holds up within its isolated thing. I know it's a little bit more nuanced when it comes to like IPs like Star Wars and stuff like that for sure. Yeah. But I don't want to sit too long.
I do have one more thing, real quick. When the announcement came,
to move it along.
When the announcement came trending on Twitter or whatever, there was another trend for Mandalorian and Grogu, and I'm like, why is that? And so I started diving into that. People were like, take the budget away from them and give it to the Acolyte, and I was like, that's a weird take. And I'm like going through it, and one person was like, had the clip of the footage from the new movie where he's riding the little fucking walker thing and other walkers are shooting at him, and he's like, this is what people want. They want the big ass badass set pieces, and like they don't want the shit that makes them think about their heroes in a different light or whatever. And that was the only one in that whole group of people saying like, oh no, we want more Acolyte. That was like, okay, there's a point there.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember if I brought it up on the show, but I know I've been seeing more and more people discussing the idea that like they really just want their shows to be black and white, evil and good.
They do, yeah.
Like there's a comfort in it, especially as this nerd audience gets older. Like our age, like nostalgia and like simplicity and comfort is much more important to a lot of people in our age group and older. And so I think.
Do you subscribe to that?
Yes and no. I think both shows can exist. I totally appreciate a movie, where it's pretty cut and dry. Like this is the good guy. He's big and buff, and he's going to go fight these evil people that are clearly evil, and there's no questions about it. Like I think that show kind of exists, can exist, and should exist. And I think even within Star Wars, you could do those two kind of shows. But I think there's also an amazing place for exploring the goodness and the villainous and the gray area in between. I think that makes for very good storytelling if it's done right, and you're going in there as an audience wanting that and not just pew pew bad guy dies.
And that's the tough thing. Like I think you had just said a moment ago, it's like there are so many groups of people, a ton of groups of people that have all these different things and ideas and expectations and wants for the next Star Wars thing. Yeah. You just can't make any and all of them happy. And I like when something just takes that bold dive into going, yeah, no, we hear you, cool. But I'm going to do a thing. I'm going to respect the property, but I'm going to do a thing, and you're either going to like it or not. It's so hard with something like Star Wars owned by Disney. Sorry, real quick, but it's just because so many people are like, I like Star Wars. I'm going to watch it. I hope there's something more than just a little mention or thing that's going to speak to me. And it's to be the whole fucking show.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's impossible.
So to just finish up my thing right quick. So they did the breakdown and they, said that we put our heart, our soul into blah, 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 blah. And like I said, like just going back, hearing that, listening to it, I had a better appreciation for it. I feel it shouldn't have to be this way, but I feel like certain things. Do you guys remember when shows like The Walking Dead used to have like the talk about the episode after?
Oh yeah, it was hosted by Chris Hardwick, Talking Dead.
Yeah, I think if they kind of did something like that with Acolyte, where they kind of got into it and they
Chris Hardwick needs a job.
and they got people kind of talking about the story like how we do and
like
everybody else does.
Discussion.
Yeah, just kind of what it means to them and like, the idea of exploring, like this is where this came from. I think a lot more people would have an understanding than just, them kind of jumping on the train with everybody else that, feels this way about it. But when you have somebody that says, oh, look, this is what we were trying to do with that, it kind of opens up the conversation more.
I think, it gets down to what we were saying the other week about just there's too much shit. There's too much stuff to watch. And like, your Linkin Park example, you had to go back and re-listen after you learned all that kind of stuff. And I think nowadays I think it's a shame that people don't rewatch things because there are probably a lot of things that even the first time I watched it, I'm like, man, that's not that great. And probably if I watched it again, I'd be like, oh, okay, like I noticed this thing now, or this is better. And I think nowadays people aren't going to do it, especially if the internet's telling them to hate it and just move on. You're going to watch the episode, well, that sucked, and move on, or you're going to watch the episode and check online and see how you're supposed to react to it. And then I'm very cynical and bitter about that.
I don't think that it should have been canceled. I think maybe the budget should have been lowered significantly. Kind of put it like, don't give them a big sandbox.
Yeah. Or double it and just do lightsaber fights with that one badass, please.
Move on to somebody else's list.
I mean, real quick, I did a Star Trek escape room over this last week, and that was super fun. It's Escapeology. I think there's a few locations. I went to one in Vegas. I think that's at most of their locations. So if you're near an Escapeology and you would do some Star Trek nerdy stuff, that escape room was pretty good.
Did you make it? Did you escape?
Yeah, with like 15 minutes to spare.
Nice.
It was rated an 8 out of 10. I was with a pretty smart group that do these things a lot, and it wasn't too difficult. Like it was pretty straightforward, but it was still cool. Like touchscreen, and like it was all. I think it's like officially licensed, so there was like voiceovers of some of the actors and stuff from Discovery, and it was cool.
Was there so nobody in the group was like running around going, ah!
No. It wasn't scary or anything like that. There was you watch Star Trek, so in TNG, like a lot of them fixing the ship was just a matter of like pulling out the little plastic cards and then swapping them out. They had that in there.
Reversing the polarities.
Yeah. So that was just like felt really cool. It's like, no, we got to swap this one with this one, and this one with this one. I was like, fuck yeah.
Here's his opportunity. Turns around. I know it's a different Star Trek. I can't do it, Captain.
Yeah, I was just knocking everything over with my nerd boner.
You swear.
Yeah, beyond that, World of Warcraft: The War Within starts this week for early access. Next week for all the plebes that got the normal version.
I was about to say, do you have early access?
I'm pretty sure I do. I don't know. I usually can't help myself with games like that. It's like,
nerd boner.
There's a $300 version. Okay. Nah, I don't know what it was. It was like a little bit more. But yeah, I'm excited for that. I don't know what character I'm going to play, but that should be fun.
Giggle cakes. Jermaine, what you been hyped about lately?
Well, it was just dropped yesterday, the secret level.
Oh,
yeah.
God,
Okay,
yes.
so I just watched the trailer.
Yeah.
What the fuck
Yeah,
is that?
I had heard.
I thought it was Ready Player One.
No,
That's what I've
yeah,
been
I had
waiting
heard
for,
like a headline that said
Nerd
like
boner all around.
that mentioned like, oh, some new anthology is going to include all these video games, and like I just glossed over because I think my brain couldn't even comprehend what it was going to be. But
It's just funny because I was just mentioning, like I was like, man, I wish we could like get more stuff that's like that Final Fantasy, Advent Children, just that type of animation.
You had mentioned that too in the last episode.
Yeah, the Gantz
Yeah.
Zero. I just love that. Like the Matrix, the Final Flight of Osiris. I love when I get movies like that. That's from some type of story that I like, and then when this thing dropped, first my mind didn't register shit. Like it took me a while. Then I just started like blinking, like while this thing was just playing before me. I was like, I know these people.
Yeah.
I know these franchises, and I'm like, that little clip of Mega Man. I was like, oh my god!
I saw him with the hat and everything.
Yeah.
His helmet. And I'm like, Jermaine's losing his fucking mind right now.
So real quick, what we're talking about is there's gonna be a new show on Prime, brought to us by the same people that did Love, Death, and Robots. If you haven't watched that on
good.
Netflix, please go watch it. It's amazing.
Really good.
So just like Love, Death, and Robots is an anthology, every episode is a new story. On Love, Death, and Robots, they had different animation studios. I don't know if they're doing that on this, but each episode is going to be involving a different video game IP. And I mean, the trailer starts with Space Marines from Warhammer 40,000, so I immediately was just like giddy. And then there's God of War, Pac-Man, Mega Man.
I was gonna say, what did it end with?
Sifu, Sifu, which is like kind of like a smaller game that not a lot of people know about. There's the new Sony game, like Concord or something is in it. Like,
Concord.
Yeah.
That you want to hear the list? I have the whole list.
Yeah, let's hear
nice.
that list.
Carrying out
Hold on,
Reeves.
whip it out, everybody.
Armored Core.
But Armored Core is with.
Armored Core. It just is Armored Core.
Is it
But
like
hold on.
Is it a jizz meter?
Before you dive into that list,
Oh,
Keanu Reeves.
was that true?
Yeah, because
Oh.
there's a clip.
You never know these days.
The still shot that I saw, that they're using Keanu Reeves' image for this Armored Core little short. I'm ready for that.
Armored Core, Concord,
Jizz meter.
Crossfire,
Jizz meter.
Dungeons and Dragons, Exodus, Honor of Kings, Mega Man, New World, Eternum, I think it's called.
Yeah, that's the news.
Pac-Man. And then it says PlayStation, highlighting various PlayStation Studios' beloved entries: Sifu, Spelunky, The Outer Worlds, Unreal Tournament, and Warhammer 40,000. I saw the Warhammer stuff too, and I'm like, oh, Doug's fucking losing his mind too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it like I said, I had read that headline earlier and just couldn't like piece that sentence together of like what it was trying to say. I don't know why. And then as soon as I saw that trailer, I was like, oh, that's what it is.
It must be expensive though. Just from the properties
So
themselves.
it says it's being produced by Amazon and Blur Studio. And I seem to remember Blur Studio doing a shit ton of like really good video game cinematics.
Oh, cool.
So-
oh yeah. And Amazon, they're pretty big, right? They have a lot of money, I think. I hope that. I mean, they're
This
right.
legitimately.
This-
Let me look it up.
this series better,
Don't take our word for it.
do your research. This series better be good because I need a couple seasons. So tread softly, for you tread on my dreams.
To answer your
jinxed
question, you know, maybe they had to pay a lot for it, but also at the same time, like this will be great advertisement for a lot of these games. I mean, certain ones don't need it, but games like Sifu and Spelunky and all that, cool. And like this is like Amazon's like first like 40K action, right? Because they're the ones that have the rights to it all. And
And don't they have the rights to the God of War series? I could be wrong.
oh, maybe
The
probably.
live action series. So, like what the Deadpool leak did for the movie, you know, the hype train. I think Sony and a couple other studios probably are kind of with this because they probably want to see what the hype is with all the fans, because this could potentially kind of show studios, oh, look, this is what a God of War, Warhammer could look like.
Oh, that's fascinating.
So it's one of those things. I do feel they should do a good job with this
It's
because
everyone's best nature, yeah.
Yeah, that's a potential movie deal.
Yeah, I mean, it's considering these are probably going to be less than an hour long. Like it's just going to be some awesome action set
Yeah.
piece with each of these characters. I mean, there's no way to piss people off on that.
And Love, Death, and Robots is
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Dude.
It's going to be Kratos like questioning his gender or something like that. Just really pissing everybody off.
I'm running through the Blur Studio pass list. They did all the cinematic trailers for the Batman series, the Batman Arkham series.
Oh.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, that just they've done a shitload of everything, but those in particular. Oof. So,
Good for them.
good times.
Yeah, good for them. Good pull on
Did you
that.
order your Costco pallet of like lube for this?
I still
I did-
have a lot left over from earlier. It's too hot in this
I
house.
did watch the IGN drop the story where the producer or whoever was on the panel, and he was getting ready to announce this project, and he said that it's been like 3 years in the making. But while he was saying what he was saying, like he was getting so emotional,
Yeah.
like some of us do.
Gross.
But he was just, kind of like breaking down, like literally breaking down here and there, and he had to pause, because he was just saying this is, just one of those like dream projects, but just
3
that
years.
they
Isn't,
got this.
3 years doesn't seem like a bad turnaround, especially considering it's going to be a CG show.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty good. That's wow. Okay. Cool.
Unless like that trailer was just really like overblown, and the rest it's going to be just Unreal tournaments.
God.
We're just going to be watching episodes of like Fortnite.
Oh no, the trailer took 3 years. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, the trailer took years. So it's like 16-bit animation.
I would still enjoy myself. I think.
Oh fuck yeah, I'd watch the hell out of that.
Yeah, but that's my hype of the week.
Nice.
Rudy, best for last.
Hardly.
Worst for first. Huh?
I said hardly.
What do you have?
I was just the only thing that I was really interested in this week so far, besides Alien Romulus, was all the controversy surrounding X-Men '97.
Let's talk about it.
Like Jesus Christ!
We're gonna talk about Wiener. We're gonna talk about Wiener.
So Bo
Never too far away from it.
Bo DeMaio has been kind of hinting around the internet that he was fired from X-Men '97 because he was black and he gay too.
I didn't know that. Now I'm on board.
And he's been like, yeah, there was I put like a rainbow in one of my tweets, and like Disney didn't like that. I also read that he
Allegedly.
yes, it's all allegedly. He
I
thought
have to say that before.
someone put it
Alleged rainbow.
in
Rainbow!
quotations that he was getting too successful as a Marvel producer, a producer of Marvel content within Disney, and that other people engineered to his downfall. And I'm
You're
like,
making it too
okay.
good. Too good. No.
And so Disney finally got tired of being dragged because they
Some
didn't
sinister shit.
they didn't release any kind of like he's a bad person, this is why we fired him. They were just like we parted ways, and then he started stirring the fucking pot. So Disney's like, well, okay,
Bold of him.
we investigated and we found some egregious
Content.
not content egregious shit that
All that bad stuff.
but they still didn't really like go into detail. And then Bo's still over here fucking still poking the bear. So finally someone came out and was like, yeah, he was sending pictures of himself naked to animators and going like, if you need suggestions for heroic poses, like
Were they of age?
look at
You still can't send an unsolicited dick pic.
like look at this
News
thing.
to me.
Yeah, we've been meaning to have that intervention.
And they pissed off Disney enough.
I appreciated the week where you wrote the name on it of the day of the week on it, and you just sent it to us first thing in the morning.
So
That's
you
great.
didn't want
No.
little stuffed animals like,
No, they're in my- they're
curled
in-
up like in a sleeping bag?
They're in my new folder called evidence.
I just thought it was cute.
I did hear one of the stories
I just sent the wrong
when all this
emoji
stuff
in
first
response.
happened that they fired him allegedly because he had a OnlyFans was one of the stories that I heard
And,
when all this
Apparently,
things first
he's just
started.
like a huge narcissist. So I mean, it all tracks. Like you put his name into Google, and like one of the pictures on the thing is like buff, very buff black man, oiled up. So I mean, pull it up, enhance.
It's-
I don't know how you could complain against that.
But he apparently he pissed off Disney enough that because they gave him the credit for the first season, and he had writing credits for the second. I don't think he had anything to do with the third yet because I think they've greenlit 2 and 3 so far. But Disney's going back to rewrite all of season 2 enough so that they can take his name off all of it.
Oh boy,
like completely.
Hey, at least we got a really awesome first season.
Yeah.
You know?
Hey, they just need to put him in the credits, but they don't need to put his name just so that meme with the big black guy with the. Should just have that picture in there.
I fucking know.
A picture at the very end of the credits of just a jar of mayo because his last name's DeMayo. So
Yes, there you go.
you're on the credit.
Why can I see you, future Rudy, editing this and just putting that thing in there with the thing of mail? I'm sorry. Not to edit your own stuff.
Best foods.
Maybe if Disney just hired more narcissistic people that like to send nudes, we'd get some great MCU content.
That's a way to look at it.
Sorry, silver lining or something? I don't know.
Spin.
Jizzy lining.
It's so funny because everyone's accusing Disney of being like, trying to push the agenda and all that stuff, and they're putting gay people in charge or everything. And this one guy is saying, no, they fired me because of that, because I'm gay. I'm like, really? What's the narrative? Like, I don't understand.
Well, that's part of the narrative is that none of these corporations actually care. They do it for profit, just in Pride Month, and then they move on. I mean, that's the allegations. I don't think that's true for a lot of these companies.
So usually, the big companies, because it is all like they could care. Allegedly, what I assume, what it seems like, is like they can fucking care less for what anyone's doing because most likely they're all fucking doing it themselves. It's my, conspiracy theory, whatever. But it seems like they go, well, hey, your shit got out. Now we're gonna try to, back away from you, get away from you, so that we can hold on to our little money pile here. That's my fucking theory, conspiracy theory on it. Honestly,
it is true with the pitchfork mentality of a lot of Twitter and the internet. I mean, there is always going to be a risk if something comes out that, especially if it's like in the realm of sexuality. I mean, granted, that's like harassment and that's all legitimate, like legal stuff. But anything, even just having an OnlyFans, I think people can be so quick to twist something into something more than it is. I mean, we see how much people throw around the word like groomer or whatever. It's like, oh, you're doing something sexual and you're making cartoons for kids, groomer. And and it's like, and once that's out there, you have a whole army of people, and not necessarily the most sane people, which can be a dangerous thing.
Like meerkats, as soon as they hear the word groomer, like
Yeah,
out of their holes, like, oh, time.
yeah, exactly.
Let's go.
And if you're fighting the fight against evil Disney corporations or whatever because you've been told to hate them, also, like there's a lot to it, so it makes sense. I hope what he did, as everyone that listens to our show, thank you, knows, we talked for like 3.5 hours on that first season. So hopefully whoever they get to replace him like understands.
Yeah.
Like do a deep dive into why people enjoyed that show.
trying to get him to cry again.
Yeah.
Like, controversy aside, now that
Come at me, bro.
Got 1 million views for that.
they're trying to
episode.
take the bulk of his influence out of that. Like, shit. Like,
They got to bring Gambit back just so they can kill him again. That'll win us over.
Speaking of Alien vs Predators,
You know what? There's no segue.
speaking of predators and the aliens that love them.
Yeah, it works. It works.
The worst one.
Perfect.
On brand though. Come on. Let's talk about it.
I'm just gonna have a cashew. You guys go ahead.
So the
damn.
1.5 sequel, I guess you want to call it, 1.5 sequel to the very first Alien, which takes place, Alien Romulus, which takes place 57 years after the first movie, took me by surprise. Directed by Fede Alvarez, who also did Don't Breathe and the reboot of Evil Dead. I don't think he came back for the second one.
This
Evil
is
Dead,
me
right?
slicing my tongue in half for the Evil Dead. I was trying to remind you. You weren't looking at me.
Which is like one of the things that I think he does well is he presents you the thing that you're kind of familiar with. You kind of know what you're going to get into, and then goes, "Oh yeah, you think that's disturbing? All the usual shit, and we're going to make it gross." And he fucking did that toward the end. Heads up, warning: there's going to be spoilers because there's no way to talk about this movie without giving spoilers. So yeah. Hey guys, what do you think about the movie?
It was really
Super
good.
fucking really good.
Yeah, it's been a while since.
Can you call it a sequel since it didn't really
I don't
continue
know
the
what,
events?
I know. I don't know. It's what?
It didn't really continue the events. Well, not the events. It didn't
What
follow
is
the
it called?
same characters at first.
Requel? No, not a requel.
I don't. Somebody called it something and I don't fucking remember. Should have written it down.
Yeah,
but
there's a term for
It
that.
was. It's because it's not quite a sequel. It's not quite. It's kind of a requel, or it's just
I'll take it.
a. What did Star Wars used to call it? A Star Wars saga. This is an alien saga.
An in-universe adventure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
an alien story.
the sequel. The sequel to the villain,
Romulus and
right? Because it was the
and
same alien, kind of, sort of.
We'll figure it out.
Did you guys like the story setup with the crew and what unfolded after that?
Before Doug goes on the whole thing, I did. I did because all of the other movies, and I can't remember exactly the plots to all of the other movies, including but not limited to Prometheus and everything, just all alien encompassing, right? Mostly it has to. They were usually science oriented. Or soldier oriented, right? But it was always surrounding.
The first one, they were truckers. Basically.
Were the truckers?
Yeah, pretty much.
But the core of it was always like the Wayland Corporation.
Wayland Yutani.
Thank you. But it was kind of refreshing because again, you're always thinking like, okay, what are they gonna do? Is it gonna follow along those similar beats? And for them to have, I guess, a newer story and something that was a little bit more heartfelt, where it made it kind of grounded it, or it was a little bit more like a rational motivation, and also two, to allow them to explore a little of what it was like to live in this world if you weren't a scientist or a trucker or a soldier, you know. So I like the motivation. How did you like the motivation?
I didn't mind it. I didn't mind the characters because it was one of those things like because of who was directing it and the fact that it was these young kids and they were trying to find a way home. I immediately knew damn near everybody was dead. So just that setup alone, then you find out, oh, there's this ship in space that they're going to try to get, they're like, oh, it should be easy mission.
Famous last words.
Right? You thought, and then there was some more of it.
Rudy?
What?
Doug?
Well, I mentioned it to you guys right after I saw it. Like, I was totally in for that story at the beginning. Like, the world interested me, the way the set looked, and yeah, that story. Well, like the one girl getting denied her travel papers, and then so she had to, she meets up with her friends who are obviously like coming up with a scheme to get off planning. And like learning about the really quickly learning about the characters and like seeing how they were and her and then her brother, the android Andy. I wanted that movie still. Like I still would have loved to see them move. And, and then like it was kind of like towards the end of like the setup phase of that movie that I was like, I had to remind myself like, oh, this is a horror movie. Like all these people are going to die. Which, I mean, that's the reason I went there. Like I knew it. I wasn't like surprised, but, so to answer the question, like I love the setup. I love the story. And then
You sighed, and by the way, you breathed in so long. I thought you were going to like hate on it.
oh no, I absolutely loved it. And to your point, like you brought up the motivation. I think similar to his work on the Evil Dead reboot, which I've praised before on this show about them not just leaving because she was the heroin addict or whatever and coming down. So that it gave
so good.
It gave a reason for them to stay despite all the bullshit. I think it was the same thing here, where it was like, okay, things were kind of falling apart, but like there was still reason. Like they didn't back away as soon as shit got weird because they had a pretty good reason to fucking finish this mission and get the hell out of there. Because working for Wayland sucked on that mine planet.
And it made sense because when you got to know the characters, it seemed like anytime somebody got close to getting their hours, that they just bumped it up. Because I believe they mentioned that their parents also worked there, but they died there, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was one of those things where you get that little sand grain of hope, and they take it away from you. Because when she told her, like, oh, you can get it again in, like, 5 years, I'm like, well, shit.
Yeah.
And by the way, so you said it before, but just a reminder, it's a horror film. Like Alien, the very first Alien was a horror film, and then the subsequent movies kind of stepped away from that, and there was mainly just sci-fi. So when you're watching a horror film, there's this sort of structure that you have to, not necessarily have to follow, but that horror films typically follow. And one of those is you have to give a shit about the characters. Otherwise, what actually happens to them, you're like, oh, I don't care about that person anyways. And so you have to sort of subtly, build these people back, build these people up and their motivations. But what helps that along is a great cast.
Oh yeah.
People that can actually fucking perform these things. So like when Rain had that moment where her quota went up, it's the little things that she's emoting. It's in her eyes. It's that feeling where I was like, I in that moment I was like, oh, I remember sighing, like, fuck, that really sucks. But if it was a lesser actor, I'd be like, okay, cool, whatever. It wouldn't have come through. And so now I'm invested in that character.
I also do feel like that one little moment probably registers with, like, a lot of people, in their average, day job and whatnot. But speaking of the...
God, 15 years.
Sorry. Go ahead. I told myself to keep it together.
That was too personal.
40 more years to retirement.
Yeah.
Fuck.
But who got me in that series that just flipped that switch like that was Andy.
Literally.
When he got upgraded, I was like, holy fuck.
I love the way
Where's your
aliens-
Oscar at, bro?
Yeah, the alien movies have introduced the synthetics and the way they just they're not necessarily evil, but their fucking directive is like for the company.
Yeah, they got that RoboCop prime directive.
Yeah, so it makes them do shitty things to the humans around them when the shit hits the fan.
And I noticed like the synth in the very first movie was Bishop, and then they run into this synth here called Rook. So obviously like chess pieces. So I think there's definitely something about like Wayland is using them
love
like
that.
as game pieces.
Son of a bitch. See,
I picked on that.
fucking
Like today
guy.
I was thinking about that. I was like, oh, Rook, Bishop.
As soon as they call him Rook, I'm like, oh, because of Bishop. Yeah, that's fucking. Except for what the new one is, David, the one from
Fassbender?
Prometheus.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, fuck you. You're
So
breaking.
Prometheus was set before all of this, like way before all of this, right?
Is it really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a
I don't-
major prequel.
I don't remember where all this shit sits on the timeline.
Yeah, I think I immediately, someone like the proper chronological way to watch the new Alien movies.
Yeah, someone's screaming right now. The one person that knows. You have to watch this way.
Yeah,
I did like that we got a bigger. I don't want to say bigger, like a more expanded view of the company, because for the most part, it's always like the top level executives, and they're chasing like immortality or they mentioned the weapons division wanting a copy of these, and like this was like no, we're fucking. The spoiler: the human race is not suited to colonize space because space is rough. Diseases and
It gives it
all
that
shit.
sorry. It gives it that motivation where you go like, well, I guess I can side with the villain for all their bad doings. It's for the greater good.
I mean, kind of,
Kind of.
but they're chasing the wrong fucking thing here because every time
That's what I'm saying, though.
Every
Yeah.
time they get that little drip of the black stuff, the Prometheus or whatever they want to call it,
Thank you for clarification.
but it's the perfect organism.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, but it's gross, man.
Wow.
I was absolutely talking about the fucking xenomorphs.
Yeah.
Dickhead.
I
Jermaine is perfect.
Allegedly.
I appreciate that. God damn it, we had to look up this term before. It's like an alternate timeline, because this is obviously future sci-fi, but the tech they were using was very like outdated because the first movie came out like in the 70s, so, and obviously the sci-fi and
so glad
that,
you pointed that out.
like the equipment and that was reflective of 70s technology.
You know what other thing did that? To go back to it a quick second was Andor. Andor did the same thing where it's like we get that we're doing it now, but this took place then, and so the technology, even like the special effects, how they built that then was old, and they thought it was future.
Star Wars
at the
is like
time.
a whole other galaxy, far, far away, with its own like timeline
So I
and
hear
stuff
it.
like that.
Yeah. So I appreciate
you're
that
right.
in this movie.
I think that's what made Andor stand out. But like, this I was noticing that too, and God, the tactileness of it, the clicking and the CRT monitors like turning on, like an old 80s baby was, in my head was just like, yes, like all the cool sounds that we don't get anymore because now we just got touchscreens that don't make any sort of thing. They click, 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 boom. I love it.
And a quick mention, speaking of which, sound design.
Oh yeah,
Sound design and like lack thereof. The whole movie opens up with just space and nothing, no sound. It was unnerving. My wife Elva was like, it was too quiet. It made me uncomfortable. Go good. It set the fucking tone. Like that's what it was supposed to do, and it did it so fucking well.
I'm chopping on popcorn and I'm like, I can hear this. Like I know the person eight rows behind me can hear me fucking chewing.
And it did this thing where
I saw a meme the other day where someone like had popcorn and was like, "You want to go sit in the quiet room for 2 hours with the loudest food on earth?"
But it did this thing throughout the movie. Real quick, is like pacing. Right, one of the sequel to Prometheus. Prometheus was a really slow-paced movie, and then the one following that kind of picked it up a little bit. This one found that happy medium where Covenant, if that's what it was, where it was like we're gonna let the scenes breathe, and then right when you're gonna get bored, it gets a little bit uncomfortable, and then we'll move on to the next thing. And it was just done so well, and I think that couldn't have been done without an amazing director like Fede Alvarez. But going back to it, the sound design, the absence of sound, just fucking everything added to the immersion of being on this fucking spaceship.
Yeah, and the visuals as well. Some of the greatest like space shots I think I've seen in a long, long time.
I do like the gimmick, cheap, like kind of like loud jump scare type moments that they do. Going back,
There wasn't a lot of them, but there was a few.
Yeah.
The ascension into space, the takeoff.
Dude, yes.
I was thinking, like, part of me was like, they really don't need to show all this, but I am so glad they did because that was
1000%
gorgeous
yes.
and it was really cool.
It's a total like reverse of how they drop in Aliens. When they do the combat drop, it is just a straight
Son of a
express
bitch, yeah.
elevator to hell going down. It's just I'm like, and it was the same thing, but going up, I'm like, wow, that's a cool like callback, and like that's how they
That's true, yeah.
they insert and exit orbit.
It did something cutting back from the cockpit to that faraway view where you can barely hear the rockets go. It in a movie, every fucking scene, every shot should mean something. It should do something. It should inform whatever story and the feelings. And what it did was the overall feeling of, yes, it's this group of people. They're all together, and you think you're safe. But ultimately, zoom back, they're just a speck in space that no one's fucking gonna know that they're there.
Yeah.
Just I loved it. Just that little thing.
And it led to is that our son? Like, which definitely tells us that that they don't get to see their son on that planet. Like,
Well, did you see the graphic at the beginning where it says hours of daylight?
oh no.
They were had Jackson Star, whatever, blah, mining colony, average year of sunlight 0%. I'm like, jeez.
Oh wow. Wow. Wow.
Like that's why she was having the dreams of being sunbaked.
Yeah.
It did it like in a comical beat too. It was like information. 0 hours of. Did you pick that up on it?
Yeah.
I think to your point, this movie is probably like textbook idea of like everything you show like should be for something and for a reason, and like sometimes maybe a little on the nose, but like pretty good. There was definitely like almost any time they picked up a piece of tech, it's like, don't touch that will do this, and it's like 5 minutes later we're gonna see it do that. That's
were
the
some
only
heavy
thing.
plants,
Like,
yeah.
Like at first it was fine, but like I think by the time the third or fourth time they did, it was like, okay, that's fine, that's fine, that's fine. I'd almost rather have that than like some other weird explanation of how to do it or what it's supposed to do. But
Yeah, I think it did a good job of like having those maybe not so subtle plants, but just things that were just quickly introduced and did fucking come back later. But
when they like it was that scene of just them docking and then they get into the ship, and when they
Oh, docking the ship. Sorry. Go ahead.
when they finally got aboard and those doors opened up with those blades,
yeah,
I was like, oh, is this a foreshadowing of like somebody or maybe an alien getting like its head cut off, because it just
It seemed
seemed
like
like
they-
they
yeah.
just focused on that. So I was waiting
nice
for
little
that,
misdirect,
yeah,
though.
for the whole movie. But when they went in that one lab and they saw all those what is it, the face huggers? Mm-hmm. I was like, oh my god,
It should look like an art installation.
Right?
It's like face hug us.
and I love that. I just love that scene because we, the audience, know. They don't know.
yeah.
So it was just one of those things like, and then it just slowly started to get warm in there, and they were just thawing out. And
Started
oh
moving.
man,
they
Damn.
look like sous vide bags to me. I
Yeah.
figured you were just cooking them up in the sous vide. And
When they panned and I'm like, oh, look, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Like, holy shit. Like, they all died.
Shit.
Everyone died in this.
yeah, I saw an interview with some of the actresses in it, and they were saying one, I guess they filmed this movie in chronological order,
Interesting.
which I'm assuming like for a horror movie, like that might be kind of a cool experience as an actor and actress, because you're just things are getting crazier and crazier out of hand.
Yeah, really.
And like, as people die, like they're no longer on the set with you. Like that's kind of a cool way to film a movie like this. But then also they said like all the animatronics, all the practical effects made it really easy to be afraid. Like when the animatronic xenomorph or the face huggers are coming at them, like they
Yeah.
said it was very easy to scream, and like I can imagine so versus like a tennis ball or something.
Tennis ball on a pole.
Yeah.
And I get like, I think nowadays you're never really gonna ever get no CGI in a movie. It's kind of hard to get away from that now that we have the ability to sort of like touch stuff up. But
Yeah, I would say we shouldn't get away from that. I mean, I think CGI can be done very, very well, and it adds a lot to a show. So, like, I think if someone were to set out, like, we're not gonna, I mean, unless you're telling a boring, I don't know, fucking first date movie or something like that.
there was a Jonah Hill movie where they did that through CGI when it didn't need to be because they didn't like each other. Did you hear about that? And then they had a CG the kiss. But what I was gonna say was
Like really bad, like lip stretching out.
yeah, well, you have to watch it. It's so
Space Jam
disturbing.
shit.
Yeah, it morphs into one another. But like when people talk like, "Oh, CG's bad," it's like, no, bad CG's bad. You can do it seamlessly if you have somebody that knows how to work with it. If you know somebody that is going to film a thing, knowing you're going to use special effects and accounting for all that, instead of being the kind of director that goes, fix it in post.
Yeah. Shout out to James Gunn for giving his VFX team like a year after they're done filming
time,
to
yeah,
finish
absolutely.
for Superman.
And so there was things where, now that we are familiar with like, full CG creatures and characters and whatnot, and yes, on paper it's like, great, we're going to get everything, practical creatures and practical effects. Still, it's, you can kind of still tell, the uncanny valley on either of those things. And so the way to do that, especially when it comes to your creature, so you're not taking out of the movie, is to hide it a little bit and to slowly introduce your creature, especially the big bad. Light it well, shoot it so fucking well, and hide it a little bit, behind some smoke, behind the catwalk.
The only thing that kind
Dark Horizon.
of took me out of it a little bit was Rook.
Oh God, yeah.
Like his face sometimes, like he had that whole uncanny.
yeah. Well,
feeling
that
to it.
actor's dead, right?
yeah, the actor's
Is he
dead.
dead?
That's
yeah,
the
he-
original
okay.
Bishop.
Yeah, he's dead.
So like I understand that because I didn't
Ian
know he was
Holm.
dead. I thought they were doing some like de-age and stuff, and that was what I assumed. I'm like,
Well, what threw me off real quick for that is when they lifted him up onto that counter, I immediately was like, cool, they can have the actor inside the fucking compartment and just have his torso sticking up from underneath. Like, great way to do that practical effect. Because, they could have left him on the ground, which would have been harder. But they put him up there. I'm like, awesome. That actor just needs to stand underneath that set and do that. So when they finally showed his face and he started talking, it's like, oh, that's CGI. I was so, like, ready and excited for, like, a cool way to do a practical effect. And then it wasn't. And it was CGI. And then later I heard, yeah. And it makes me mad that it didn't dawn on me that was Bishop. Like, obviously those scents are going to look the same.
Because I do remember the timing when he passed, because like I said, like I know he's from the movie, but personally I know him from The Fifth Element. But
Lord of the Rings too.
But a lot of people were upset that they had him in this movie because he's passed and gone. And I was like, one of those
hard
things
to get away from it though.
That's a bunch of people, and they're like, why, like, reanimate these corpses to do things when they can give it to a live actor or blah, 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 just change the story. And it's like, I mean, he fit in this, so what do you want?
But yeah, because on the other end, you go, well, I don't know, who's that person supposed to be?
Yeah, in this case, like, unless they sat there and said, like, oh, he looks like Bishop. And,
yeah. You look a little different.
just a tag. Pretend it's Bishop.
Two things happened when they revealed that the synth was still alive. Is they didn't immediately reveal him. They showed the behind his head and he's talking and the side of him and then kind of hidden and blurred. And I go, cool. If they just do that, and he doesn't have a lot of talking parts, they can get away with it.
Oh my god, I thought he was human. That shit fucked me up.
And then they showed him, and I go, oh, they really fucked up on that one. And then my brain goes, okay, if I can just try to convince myself that he's a synth, and so it's fake. It's a fake person, so maybe you can kind of sort of get away with that. But in the end, I was like, it's hard to do that sort of de-aging thing.
I knew they were building up to something because of the way they were keeping him in shadows and all shit. They put him up on the counter, and it was
it's
like
that Resident Evil
like
training
over the
right
shoulder,
there.
like from here. And I'm like, oh, okay, something's like it's going to be a treat. I think a big reveal, like they're doing something. And then when I saw it, I was like, oh, that's the guy.
I don't know if they'll ever perfect it. I mean,
I'm with you though. I think they could have, not to nitpick their work, and it was awesome, but like maybe made him more damaged and glitchy even. Like that might have worked if like his jaw was kind of messed up, so he would have been talking funny to begin with or something.
Damn it.
I don't know.
No,
but then
that
maybe it
would've
would
been a
have been
great
too
one.
hard to recognize him if they fucked him off too much. But
They could have played with it, fuck. Because, yeah, I think that was the only major nitpick of the movie. I mean, I could probably, like, suggest things here and there, but that was the one. But, his subsequent scenes were, like, via a TV screen, so that you can get away with.
that's what I was about to say. It looked really good on the distorted TV screen. So maybe that's the way. If you want to play some necromancy and bring back actors, they have to be talking through a CRT television.
When he was like, hit the button and I'll fly you out. I'm like, oh, it looks really good right there.
Yeah.
Like I accepted it. I was trying to look to see if the other guy, Lance Henriksen, who played Bishop in Aliens, if he's still alive and they could just de-aged him.
Yeah.
But yeah, he is still alive.
That
He's
was
84
bastard.
though. I don't
I
know.
guess they got permission and they worked with the family and stuff like that. Because that's the other big concern with
You'd have to.
any of this stuff is.
Wasn't the whole thing that Rook was in the very first Alien? He was the synth,
Yeah.
right?
So
you
Bishop
was
was
like
the synth in the very first one.
No. That was Ash.
Oh.
Ash,
that.
I believe.
Oh.
Bishop was the Lance Henriksen's character.
The,
who
okay.
ended
okay.
up being like one of the, like the founder of the company,
Oh,
like Alien
yeah,
vs.
yeah. I'm
Predator.
mixing them up. Yeah. I mixed it all up now. Fuck me.
Check your facts.
yeah. Check your facts.
The kills. How did you guys feel overall about the kills?
Yeah, his name was Ash. Sorry.
The kills weren't as like gruesome as maybe I was kind of hoping for, but
Could see
still
that.
brutal.
Yeah.
like still very
What's
much
the
like,
rating on this?
ooh or whatever.
It was a
but-
very, very alien kills with the mouth.
Yeah. like the acid drip and stuff.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
that.
can we talk
Yeah.
about the Doug face hugger? Like slapped its tube on the window. I was like, that's Doug.
I have never slapped my tube on a window.
Allegedly.
Yeah, I mean, I black out a lot, so maybe.
Yeah, the face huggers are just totally gross in like a visceral way, and then like seeing the where like it's on
real
your face
violating.
but from the side, and it's like, hold on, where's the hole?
Yeah.
It's there somewhere. I'm gonna get it. And the guy's like,
The facehugger's like, hold on. Wait, talk dirty to me. It went limp again. Hold on
And
a
they
second.
move so crazy,
happened?
man. Like, I love the scene where they had to get by the, what do we call a flock of?
Flock of,
How about a terror of facehuggers?
oh, terror. Yeah.
So
A
when
violation
they had to
of
bring down
facehuggers.
the temperature in the room to match their body temp, and they were just trying to get through,
Trying to quiet place their way in.
yeah, just those facehuggers just sitting there and just doing a
get
little,
that twitch in and like
doing a
that
little, I'm like, you son of
They were a
Just-
little stiff for me, but I mean, I'm not going to pretend to
That's
be
what
like
I'm talking
a,
about, like,
a
with the puppets and
alien
stuff, yeah.
xenologist or something like that. But yeah, some of the movement, I was almost just like, that's a face hugger on a remote control car,
Yeah.
like a little bit. Movie was greatest. I think I told people this might have been one of the greatest movies I've seen in a long time.
I think it's my favorite
I'm not
horror-
going to nitpick that.
I think it might be my favorite horror film of the year.
Oh yeah, probably.
Yeah.
my favorite sci-fi of the year.
The kills, I think, were done smartly, would be one way to put it, because you're gonna have like your throwaway kills, right? You know, you're going so long throughout the movie,
You got to
like,
get that annoying guy out of there first.
or girl. Who's the one that first died? It was
Oh yeah,
The pilot.
yeah,
yeah.
pilot.
Aileen Navarro. So she was first to go, and I was like, wow, she's done dirty, but they didn't really build her character back up or build her character up, and so you're like, okay, there was like an attention to the value of the kills. Like, all right, we're gonna satiate your hunger. There you go, a little appetizer here, and then that guy's a dick, so a little one there. You know, and then this is the main course, and boy, we're gonna make a fucking meal out of it. And oh boy, howdy did they!
I was a little upset about the guy who got killed by the acid, because I'm like, he's like, oh, we got it a little bit, and then like, let me lay right under the thing, and then be like,
Fuck!
and then just watch it drip and be like, instead of fucking like trying to roll out of the way or something. I'm like, whatever.
I'm assuming shock or something. I was
Okay.
thinking the same thing. Like the second I saw my fingers disappear in front of my
Yeah.
eyes, like I'd be fighting as much. Like,
He did.
I was so disturbed watching that whole thing. That idea freaks me out.
Like, I
did.
love it.
He pretty much did the Man of Steel, Kevin Costner. He's like,
Wait for it. It's gonna be good.
but
I want a little bit more death on his part. A little
he
gruesome
was
gore.
the dad, right?
It seemed like that was the
Because it seemed like, because the girl said, "Oh,
cousins.
No,
Yeah,
but
they were
they're
cousins.
just
but they're
an asshole.
cousins.
Yeah, but
Wait, were they cousins?
Second
or
cousins?
See,
He-
I thought that was the guy's
I thought
best
so
friend,
too.
The
but
brother- I
she
thought they
didn't
said
want
brother.
him to know.
the brother calls him his cousin
Yeah.
specifically,
Well,
and then
Space Hillbillies.
the pilot and that guy seem to have their relationship. They seem to be a couple. So, I mean, that'd be not far fetched, but it'd be a little weird.
The West Virginians in space.
yeah,
Because I think if she was pregnant and he knew or whatever, I think he might have been a little bit more
Concerned.
He would have shown a little more concern.
We'll have to rewatch it.
but man, when he stuck that prod in that
Vagina.
that
The cocoon.
hive, the cocoon hive vagina.
I hate both of you.
That thing looked so terrible, but I really thought, I was like, oh man, he might have gotten it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I had like a sand grain of hope, but nope. Because you just saw that little, it got excited.
Ooh.
It got excited because it had the little
Oh,
tail.
you've never seen that happen? Not familiar, are you?
he found it.
Yeah, exactly.
He found the fabled G spot.
Right?
It's a myth. I'm just kidding.
So he had to electrify that shit for him to find it.
Gotta bring some toys into it. That's a secret.
So you
Beat it
fucking
up.
you put it in, you angle it, and then you hit fucking 30,000 volts.
You're 12 years old.
Oh man.
That's how you do it.
Taking
I think
notes.
Rachel actually like leaned over and just like vagina. And I'm like,
yeah,
Ooh, it's a juicer.
Oh man.
that would be worth watching, like the behind the scenes, because that design was clearly. I mean, I don't know. a lot of animals have vaginas that look pretty similar. So it's like maybe it's some sort of they're using like evolutionary.
Well, I mean, the eggs for that face hugger come out kind of almost have that. I mean, they come out segmented, but it's still that juicy ass, crevasse that they're coming out
And
of.
it makes that sound, and it makes that sound, and when that tail kind of like moves in the egg, and
that mac and cheese sound.
I'm like,
I get that familiar. Well, I mean, I don't want to jump ahead, but like then if that's the case where everything's sort of genitalia in nature, I feel like they did the last creature dirty by just giving it a patch, a little hole, a little cloaca.
I feel so like. I mean, I shouldn't be surprised at myself for how perverted I am, but like, as soon as they revealed that at the end and like running around, I was like, "Did he have a penis?" And then we finally got the full frontal. I was like, "Oh no, he doesn't have a penis."
Poor guy.
Could have been a woman, though, I guess. Yeah, it could have been a woman.
He opens his mouth and the penis comes out of there.
Oh,
He kind of did.
Yeah, a little bit. So Isabella Merced's character, I forgot her name, like announcing that she was pregnant. Again, it was like early on we heard that, so it was certainly like another like, oh man, yeah, they really need to get off this planet. Like she doesn't want to obviously raise a kid in that fucking shithole planet. But it was also because the story had so many plants. I was like, oh, that's going to come back later. I was kind of going through. It was like, oh, is that going to save her? Is the alien going to be like, oh, you're pregnant, I'm not going to kill you for whatever stupid reason? Thank you.
But I'm saying, like they made a meal out of that, where it's like, okay, that's where it's going to end, and just especially with her character specifically, just kept fucking torturing her more and more, and even going back to the whole violation, because that's what Fede Alvarez does. He fucking violates the viewers by violating the characters, and by having that last creature, whatever, I don't know what is there. Did anybody name it? Fuck, to have it like breastfeed off of her. Oh, it's so icky though.
Yeah, that was so.
It looked like the engineer.
Yeah.
Unnecessarily icky too.
Yeah,
like they totally didn't need to do it, but they flashed Isabella or Kay like reaching in and pulling, reaching into her nipple and then pulling out some weird goo. And then, next thing we know is that scene. It could have easily been that thing finding her and killing her.
I really wanted that alien in my head, anyways. I just wanted him to have like
him
that
in your head?
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles moment where he was like the Tonka Razor, Mama.
I was expecting that. Yeah.
Oh man,
I gasped when like the egg opened up and it's a little humanoid thing.
Yeah, that, and I kind of heard everybody in the theater, including myself, when they got the serum that they were gonna inject her with, because she was wounded, so they were like, well, she might not make it, but then what's his name?
Rook.
No, the android.
Andy.
Oh, Andy said it. Sorry.
Yeah, he said that they could make it, but they were gonna inject her. And then they stopped, and everybody was like, "Damn it!" Because you just wanted to see what was going to happen.
They set up the anticipation.
I loved them showing the video of that rat getting like smashed, and then they injected it. Then
it's all good and shit.
And then
as they're running out of the lab, they they go back to the case that it's in, and it's all fucking
it's
like that was so funny because I was like, I need to see somebody get injected by this blade. My serum. I needed that. But I will say this: how many of you were watching this movie? Because I know I was watching the movie. I was watching
the movie.
Damn, this would be a good ass video game.
Oh yeah, it was totally
like,
set up like a game.
This would be such a good video game.
I think there is a new Alien game out or coming out soon, but
part would be exciting. 0G acid tunnel. How'd you feel about that, Douglas?
Go ahead. Yes, you go ahead.
I immediately was like, I don't think that's how it would work. I think acid would still puncture a hole, but that was certainly a moment I kind of had that pep talk to myself of like, enjoy the fucking movie. And I hate myself because normally I have no problem with just enjoy it, but there was a part of me that was immediately like, that's not. I mean, it's still a risk, and it wouldn't have worked. But it's like, I guess at that point you just take the risk, and I thought it was ultimately though. It was fucking cool, and it was a really good idea. I thought that was really neat.
Creatively, just something new.
I love that they
it.
let you know that she still had some bullets in that gun.
Yeah.
Because she needed it to maneuver around.
And again, I think they definitely set us up that anti-gravity purge thing was, and the gravity.
There you go. You know,
they set it up that it was going to be a thing later. I didn't know how they were going to use it. I wasn't expecting that.
I completely forgot about that shit until like it started doing the ramp up. I'm like, oh shit!
Yeah, that's go back.
Run, bitch!
There were a handful of those plants, and that being one of them, where it's like some of them were obvious, and it was like immediately fulfilled and paid off, and then that one was just so well done. Of like, oh yeah, we have all these setups here. Yeah. Enjoy the movie. That reaction.
I do love the other setup too, where the one guy that got killed by the acid that had the classic '80s headband.
Bjorn.
Yeah, where he was giving the android shit because you found out his little backstory. You know, that the android closed the mining shaft, you know, or whatever on his parents and
to save a 12.
left them in there. Yeah, killed a few, saved the many, and then here you go. You have another moment where old girl who was pregnant was behind the door, and he was like, "No, I can't open that. I'm sorry." And they were begging him to open it up. That was a little moment right there. I was like, "Damn." There
was a moment I was like, "Why not just force him?" I was like, "Oh, he's super strong."
Oh, he would
tear him to bits.
Yeah, that was a good little scene there.
I did have a couple of laugh out loud moments. I fucking can't remember the first one, but it was the second one where they drop the elevator as they're getting away, you know, from all the aliens and the new one pops out of the wall. I was like, what's up? And then everyone sees the elevator. The aliens are coming up from the bottom. They drop the elevator and they gets rid of all of them. And you're like, oh shit, that was close. And that motherfucker pops out again like, like it was a cool ass moment, but that shit it still made me like just laugh out loud. I was like, "Fuck yeah, I get him."
And the aliens got some too. Was that the alien with that was the one that got the it was still like electric in its head.
Yeah. I love that they do that with the alien movies, because it was a thing in Alien vs Predator too, where you had quote unquote had the grid alien because he got trapped in the net.
Yeah,
and it was kind of getting tight on him, you know. So you saw like the green blood, but he had that little grid.
Like it gives them personality. Like, oh, that's that one.
Mm-hmm. You said there was another laugh out moment.
Fuck, I can't remember. Like, I think it was when they wouldn't open the door for what's her name, and she got took.
Okay.
But that fool was like, yeah. But that fool like dropped down and was like, he's waiting for us. And I'm like, huh? And they just kind of like pan over, and he's like, I'm waiting for that shit. Like, open the door. Let's go.
Alien
Because
comes
he had his
swiping.
silver teeth just.
Let's save your friend.
I found it really.
animated now.
The Alien movies have always done a really good job with like that camouflage, and there was that great scene in this movie where they were looking at like the TV monitor, and they're like, "Wait, hold on," and then I'm sitting there looking like, "What the fuck is she looking at?" And then it finally like moves in the corner. Like those are the kind of things like I can't wait for it to be on streaming just so I could pause it and just be like, "I can't fucking see that thing," like, but yeah, they've always done such a good job with those like kind of reveals or the out of focus movement in the background. So like that scene when Kay was, you know, banging on the door, you could see it kind of coming in, and then, you know, they tell us like it's waiting.
My laugh out moment was Andy delivering the infamous line, "Get away from her, you bitch." Just to stutter on it.
You bitch.
That's sweet,
Okay,
man.
Oh, my other laugh out loud moment, and thank you for reminding me.
You're
when
welcome.
Andy gets the upgrade.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And that was just like experiencing the most pleasure I've ever seen a synthetic human
Sure, put it
being.
up there.
Now, I'll find it. The most pleasure a synthetic human has ever felt.
Pleasure coup.
Like his eyes rolled all the way back, and he just had like the game overs, like crawling in there, and I was like, "Wow,
Game over, man.
game over." I was like, "That's going to be a meme as soon as that scene is readily available."
It was so unnerving
And
too.
I look forward to it.
Because you know the a lot of the synths, right? Yeah, they usually acted by already creepy British people, Fassbender and then Ian Holm, and then whomever else in the other movies. But they were like good androids in the other movies, right? But in this one, it was so funny to see him go from like basically broken and innocent and have that upgrade and just be British, but also you feel the danger. I didn't feel like he was going to attack anybody, but just that danger, especially when he was like running down the hall, chasing after the other guys.
He was very stern. Like when he got that upgrade, like you like, oh, he's about that business now.
That oh shit moment though of his new
from-
directive.
Went from
Yeah.
slow bender to fast bender. Fuck yeah.
Perfect. Well done.
Holy shit!
Well
Fucking throw a bell in there.
I will say though that it is a old, like stick where characters are on a clock,
Yeah,
and they had that little moment in there which I like, because they're like, oh, we got hours before this thing could collide with the rings.
Wrong.
Exactly. Then the ship, their first ship, they got into that scuffle in the ship, and then it rammed into the other ship, and then all these things happen. Now you don't have that much time as
Got
you
like
thought
43
before.
minutes.
Yeah, we're like, damn.
That, and all that like outer space shit as it's like, sinking towards the asteroid belt around the rings around the planet. That shit was really well done. Like
That was
the look
majestic.
of that
Yeah.
was just
That was
superb.
the scope of it never lost that feeling of they're tiny and this is fucking huge. Like that's difficult to do in a lot of things. We mentioned in Godzilla -1 doing it fantastically, even with a smaller budget. And I was so happy with this movie, even though it had a little bit of a bigger budget, $80 million, that it still did what it could to maintain and never lose the scope of size. Things I've said before.
Definitely. I have to say towards the end, because I was obviously wasn't pulling on my phone and checking how long it's been or whatever like that. So, when they put Kay had already taken the serum, and they put it and they kind of won at this point. They and they were loading up the cryopods to go to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
There was a part of me that's like, oh man, they're gonna like go and bring this. Like I was almost like setting up the sequel in my mind. Like, okay, they're done. They're gonna leave, but they're gonna bring whatever's in her to the planet. And then obviously that quickly was like, no, there's still more. There's more.
Did you feel like that relief of like, yes, I get to experience it now?
The what?
Like that relief of like, oh, I don't have to wait for a sequel. I get to see it happen now. Because I thought that it was going to end too, and that was going to be it, and you'd get her, eyes open, eyes are black, or something like that. Cut to credits.
Looking back at it, I guess it was relief. I think I was a little more like surprised, which was obviously what they're going for. It's like, oh shit, like we are getting like more is happening. Which I guess we knew more was going to happen, but you're right. I was a little relieved that it happened then, and it was a lot more that happened still. And
Does anybody remember the name of which one of the Alien movies where Sigourney Weaver's character gave birth to the alien and it looked human?
It was 3.
So when that thing was born again, and they had that hole
Resurrection, I believe.
that was in the ship, and it was kind of vacuuming stuff, I was like, oh, is this shit about to get sucked out exactly like that one in the? Because remember, it was that small hole that it got.
oh,
Yeah.
that's right.
that it
That skin got
pinned
pulled.
up again.
Yeah.
And I was I was
You know
like,
the scene?
is that gonna happen here again? I'm like, do we get this? But it was different. Like, I like that they kept it horror all the way through, because they both got sucked out, and then you thought it was gone, and then she's like slowly climbing back up. Like, it had that last little Jason Freddy little moment.
Yeah.
Before.
I did gasp.
Yeah.
I like how it drops down behind her and it's totally quiet. It's like
The POV though was cool, like in her
Oh
helmet.
yeah.
Yeah.
And with horror films too, like you're like, okay, that's our main lead or whatever, and you feel like, oh, are they going to have a plot armor? I'm gonna say it over and over, but like, are they gonna have plot armor? And I really felt like, oh no, she might die. There's a really good chance, like they're really putting her through the fucking gauntlet. She might actually die. So felt properly uncomfortable throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, one of my friends asked after I said like this movie is one of the greatest movies I've seen in a long time. They asked why I mentioned that there wasn't a lot of plot armor. I through none of the characters, I didn't feel like any of them got that like unrealistic save or they worked for every second of life that they had.
One person did get an unrealistic save for me. It was when the alien caught her with the tail. when she was falling, I was like, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
he's like, no, you don't get to die like that
no.
by my hand.
I was like, I'll take it.
Well, the aliens, they showed, right? Like, they don't necessarily kill all of them. They try to bring some back for the facehuggers
Yeah,
to
yeah.
breed more of the xenomorphs, right? So it's possible. Like he was,
Except for Tyler, right? Rain's kind of love interest, ex-boyfriend or whatever. Like, was he still alive somewhere? Did he get a gruesome enough death? You just saw like blood pouring down. He was the only one that got killed.
oh,
I feel like he had deserved a better
what
death.
was his death? Was he the one that got the fucking? Yeah, he got the.
Yeah.
The mouth, chomping in the face.
Little mouthy. It looked like it went into his head, so it was like, oh, yeah, you dead.
I wonder why they didn't
Or he
go a
got
little more gold
lobotomized,
there.
maybe he got lobotomized and they took him.
Because they do that. They fuck you up enough so that you don't move while you're getting.
I'm just curious why they didn't, like, especially knowing that Fede Alvarez like can make gory movies and gory death scenes. Like, why not do it for this guy? It was an off-screen death.
Like I've said before about extra gory movies, there's been times that I'll watch a movie and be like, man, this movie is really, really good beyond the gore. But the gore prevents me from maybe suggesting it to more people. So if you went too gory with
Interesting.
Alien Romulus,
Okay.
that might cut off. Like,
That's a great
like
point.
my family or like some of my friends probably be like, I don't want to watch that if it's
That's
like
a
a
good
bunch of
point.
body gore.
That's a great point. Yeah, because it's
That's where
an R-rated film.
the director's cut comes in or whatever.
Because it was like the Mortal Kombat games back in the day. You get the option to switch the blood
Blood
on,
off.
or switch it on to sweat.
I mean, that whole birth scene in the fucking cryo
Oh,
tube was enough. Or if I had pros on, I'd be clutching them. Like, ooh.
They probably swap. They go, okay, we're gonna have a really disgusting birth scene, but we can't show what's his face's death. Good, that's a great point. I like that.
Yeah.
Trade off.
I like Isabella Merced, so then seeing her just like doing that, I was like, oh, Jesus.
Oh, new
Oh,
search.
Dora.
I know, right?
She's going to be our new hot girl. That should be fun.
Oh, that's right. It was just sort of talked about that Fede Alvarez was sort of in talks with the director of Prey that he wanted to do their version of it.
I don't know. They're friends, and he just mentioned it as a thing. Like, if I was gonna do it,
Internet
with my
would say
good
you?
buddy,
Yeah.
my
Do not
buddy,
say
so we
something
can.
like that out loud.
No, they did that intentionally. Let's see how the fucking internet responds.
There was a part of me in this movie when they referenced like a savior or something like that, or I forgot what it was, but they were talking about the Prometheus serum. But before they showed what it was, part of me was like, oh man, what if they was like a predator? Like, what if somehow they had captured a predator that is the ultimate, like, no, aliens, you got to take care of this. I mean, in my head, I let my like creativity go crazy with that. Speaking of aliens, how cool was it when they finally showed that there was more than the one?
Oh, it's a shit your pants moment.
Yeah. I feel like I was a little disappointed, and maybe it happened too quickly. I thought the audience, because the theater we went to was pretty full. There were some talkative people, and some people were making some audible gasps and stuff. So when they finally showed all of them, like, I was ready to be like, oh shit! But I'm in a theater, I maintain it. But I was surprised I didn't hear more from everybody.
I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as like they all came, I'm like, there's all the people that were on the station. I'm like, so where are all the rest of the aliens?
Yeah.
And like,
Because you're like, it made sense to me. Like
Peekaboo, we're here.
a full call for backup.
they set it up good because you had that one alien that was in the first lab section. That
Yeah.
was, that reveal
Oh yeah.
was
The,
a good reveal
fossilized.
because you see the android down there on the ground, but you see like the hole,
Oh, that one. Sorry.
which
yeah,
was the
yeah.
acid hole, and then they're talking and they're figuring things out, and then they
Look
look
up
up, and
and
you're like,
The
oh,
crucified one.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was one, but in my mind, I was like, that couldn't have been the only one that was on this big, this big ship with all those people, but
Might they
it was
do?
a good setup.
Might they do what Thing did? The Thing, whereas they had like a prequel. Like, well, the thing happened to. Let's look at what happened to this station, this outpost. Nobody ever saw John Carpenter's Thing.
I was thinking Fantastic Four for the longest time.
I know,
was like,
sorry,
what the
yeah.
fuck?
Yeah, I remember.
But there was like the two outposts.
Yeah.
They saw what happened in the second one, and then
Yeah.
the movie that came out, however many years ago, just a few years ago, was essentially a prequel, and you got to see everything that happened then there.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
So maybe we'll have a
I like that idea.
prequel to the sequel. What the fuck are these called again?
Cycle. I like that cycle.
I think the only sequel that's really been out would be the
Nyquil.
300 Rise of
Hey, cool.
what was the second one?
Rise of
Empire or
Aspartame.
something like that.
Yeah, whatever. That was a full on cycle because that story was taking place at the exact same time.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Was it?
Yeah. That's why like
Yeah, it
he
was
even like
taking
went to
place- yeah.
see the Queen like right after like the Senate meeting or something like that.
Because what's her name showed up at the end of that?
Because it was
Queen Grogu, whatever the hell. Anyway, off track.
Oh, it's a real guy. The creature's called the Offspring, the humanoid thing. That's a real dude.
Robert.
There's a guy in a suit?
Bob.
He's a
Rox-
real
Bob
actual
Roxy.
tall. Yeah, okay, you got it there.
Part of me was immediately like, is that Doug Jones? Because he
No,
has
this
all
guy-
the creature suit
He's in
stuff.
everything.
Yeah.
I gotta look him up.
He's in Star Trek.
What an
so-
unfortunate, like tall looking dude, Robert Bobrovsky.
Yeah, that thing was creepy looking
Romanian.
at the end. Which is again like what makes this such a good horror movie specifically is like we had the jump scares, we had a little bit of the gore, we had the freakiness, and then you just got creepy shit.
I will say the one thing that I
Oh yeah, he's an alien.
that
Sorry, Robert Barbosco. Good.
I do love about the Alien
Bobrovsky.
series is that when the aliens come out and like burst out of your chest and all that stuff, or when something's born, it's damn near immediate that they grew up so fast.
Oh yeah.
I love that.
That's what makes
that
him
you
the,
don't
that's
have
what
to
makes him
wait.
the perfect organism. Yeah.
Because that you don't have to wait.
We don't need like a 20-minute like awkward toddler.
I thought we were gonna get that. I bet they fucking had that somewhere, and just opted out of it.
Lord.
It's like full
So
grown.
I finally got into his pictures.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't make it
Perfect-
even creepier. Like
perfect
full
casting.
grown and breastfeeding still.
The chest
Nothing wrong
breaking
with
out
that.
scene was done really well. God, that looked like it hurt. And she had the torch, the
Oh,
X-ray
man, that
torch, and
X-ray
you could
thing's
see it
cool.
start breaking the ribs. And I was like, oh, good God.
Was that technology in any of the other ones? Because if not, like it's cool to have the technology of the era from like the original films, and then just something a little new,
Yeah.
thrown in there.
I mean, realistically, in a galactic world like that, where space travel is taking years and everything like that, you could. I mean, I can imagine certain planets just being more technologically advanced than the others because of just the lack of trade and stuff like that, even within Wayland. So, time difference and galactic distance, I think, would make a for that. I don't know, I'm fucking nerding out
I
like
got a
crazy
question
here.
for
Jesus.
you now. Speaking of all the tech, do you still want the first alien gun, or do you want this new gun?
Oh, I
Dude.
still want the first one, but this
Yeah.
one was fucking a cool aside. Like it's like the colonial pulse rifle, but on colonial marine pulse rifle, but for noobs with the auto aim. I'm
yeah.
like just having all that shit like spin out, like that'd be a cool fucking like, just piece to have on the wall.
Another scene where they were just very great at like presenting the camera the gun. This is a gun. It shoots like this, and it's got auto aim. Cool. All right. I know it wasn't that robotic. It was very smooth and it made sense. They had to explain it to the characters, but as an audience, I was like, "Thank you."
I saw that, and then immediately it was like, "Well, you can't shoot it." I'm like, "Well, what the fuck?"
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I thought that was kind of like smart too, because like here you are thinking like, all right, I'm gonna do some work. Oh, you can't shoot. Oh, that makes sense. Then why did they give it? It's like, oh, intimidation. Like, cool.
It worked.
Yeah, it worked. It worked.
I mean, that's all my thoughts about the movie. You guys want to wrap it up?
Yeah. Have they ever touched on like how, like what will stop that acid? Like, does it drip in? Like, it obviously just doesn't drop forever because it one
The egg kept
the egg
it in
stopped
there.
it,
Yeah.
and it must like deteriorate.
Body, their skull, or
Yeah.
Because
whatever.
in one of the Alien vs Predator movies, like the Predator makes a shield for
does.
the girl character out of that
That's right. Yeah,
that
yeah.
dome. So
But also
Coat
just
everything
distance. Like there was the hole, right? That it dropped and it dropped and it dropped and it dropped. Like, it obviously didn't go all the way through because the station's there.
Well, we need Heisenberg. We need them to
Good
put that
point.
blood in
Well,
plastic or something.
Or not a plot hole. Or it's just
acid plot hole.
it deteriораtes. I mean, like acid. Eventually,
there's
it's
just
gonna.
one guy at the bottom with that specially treated plastic container that
Yeah.
that won't burn through.
He's doing the
It's like-
Heisenberg thing, yeah.
I'll Heisenberg like, I got it. Just pull it out the airlock. So I only have one problem with this movie, and I guess it's like just a little nitpick.
That it had credits and it
So,
finished.
so this station, top secret, high value station, that's studying, these xenomorphs, and it goes offline. Like, why wasn't there like an alarm? Like, why wasn't someone keeping track of this so that as soon as it went dormant and like closed up, the company is like immediately sending out messages, oh, we know it's here. It's going to pass through this planetary system. There's a company planet in the system. Like, why wasn't there more of a mobilization of, someone in charge to be like, hey, get up there and like secure the station, see what's happening. It's going to crash into the asteroid ring. Like, get in there and kind of like angle it and, keep it out of there. Do something, basically.
I do get that,
point.
but it's like in my head, because of all the movies and even like the Alien versus Predator movie, I feel like this company is like so vast that there may have been people trying to get to that because they did the experiment and they know what they have, so there could be somebody, but then again, like it could be like the Expendables, like this is like everybody who's going out could be disposable. Like if that mission fails, we'll get a new mission or a new crew. Like
just write it off.
Well, I'm assuming
why waste the resources? In my head, anyways.
I think that's actually probably a really good point. I was gonna say like communication might not be as vast as like say a Star Trek or something like that, where even if an alarm does go off, if there's not people within the right classification or classified clearance in the company, they might not even hear it. And then even if they did, like again, space travel is so long, it's like, all right, well 2 years, we'll be able to get to it. Because it sounded like they just picked it up, or they kind of imply that this just showed up in.
They got wandered into the system and they caught the beacon. So
yeah, so even if Wayland Industries or whatever, knew about it, they might be on their way, and these people just happen to be on that planet, were able to get to it quicker, and then that planet itself might not have either the clearance or the means to get up there according to
actually
Wayland.
do anything.
Because if they thought, because they said like 46 hours or something like that, so they very well could have just been waiting for the professionals, and these people got in there.
I think thrown in there also is like the Wayland
Yutani,
the corporation. They know the extent of the danger of this. Maybe that's why it was all experiments were done on the space station, as opposed to, it's like the miners and stuff were expendable, but it's like, those are my miners. I don't want to kill them off by our experiments going awry, so everything has to be up in space.
Yeah.
So maybe just risk of, who said it was like, well, write it off. Write off.
All right. I guess I can accept that. Like I said, it wasn't like a big thing, but like I was just in the back of my mind, I'm like, if that's such a high value thing that everyone's going after, like, why wouldn't, like, when communication ceases, or like someone wouldn't like press the big red button that's like, alarm, we need help.
Yeah.
I wonder how many of those space stations that he has, or the corporation has.
And the way that they were panning around and showing like the plaques and everything, Romulus and what's his brother, Remus.
Yeah.
Like it was like a big fancy station. Like it wasn't like a little clandestine, shitbox in space that they were trying to keep secret. Like it looked like a big prestigious thing.
Like they managed to basically farm out and capture the face huggers, having those rows of them. So they knew their way around it. What the fuck went wrong?
Yeah. Like it was an important
They
installation.
had a prequel.
But we also see how quickly it can go wrong. So again, to answer your question, like that could have happened 2 days prior. I mean, like the station was in pretty big disarray, but the bodies weren't too decomposed. The ones that were stuck in the alien walls.
Good point.
So, do you guys think when they got that like cocoon-looking asteroid in the beginning, and they cut it open with the laser? Did they take the alien body out of there, or when it panned up and we saw like the fossilization of it, that was just the imprint, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that wasn't the actual.
I
Because
think
in my head,
No, I think that's the actual alien that she blew out of the airlock from the first one.
yeah. What they showed us was the imprint, but they took the alien, and they said that It was the one that actually got blown out of the.
Which apparently doesn't kill aliens if they can fucking cocoon
Unless
themselves.
through a tiny hole.
Pretty good first impression.
That's a good enough.
That's what we thought about the movie, and it's as good as a place as any to wrap this episode up. And if you also, end of the show reminder that if you're just listening to us, you can view us on youtube.com/The Hype Attack Podcast. You can also find us on Instagram and TikTok at The Hype Attack. Doug?
Yes, keep the conversation going. This movie, I'm sure if you've seen it, you're gonna love it, and you can tell us how much you love it. If you don't like it, go ahead and tell us that you don't like it, and we'll
Theories,
yeah.
and
You're trash.
theories too.
Yeah, theories, anything anything you want to see
contact
from the
lists.
next one. Yeah.
Do you want to see Alien vs Predator?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's start
and if you
a,
don't,
start a
It's like,
hashtag
so
or something.
we had a good Predator movie. Now we had a good Alien movie. So now let's try it again.
Yeah. They need the whole leg fusion.
All right. Well, thank you for checking us out. In the meantime, same hype time.
Same
hype channel.
Hype attack.